Today we're focusing on one of the favourite destinations of the budding football manager. The Gazzetta Football Italia theme playing softly in the background, the dulcet tones of Peter Brackley exclaiming Ravanelli, and James Richardson supping espresso whilst leafing through the Corriere dello Sport. This is the destination of the football manager romantics. So let's find you the perfect FM24 save in Italy. FM24 offers managers 3 playable divisions in Italy, with 20 clubs in Serie A, a further 20 in Serie B, and 60 clubs split over 3 regional divisions in the 3rd tier as well. And with the number of playoff places up for grabs, it could be that you go into the final game of the season with just as likely a chance of snagging promotion as there is of being relegated. With all that in mind, let's go and find you the perfect club to manage in Italy. Last season's Scudetto means the challenge, should you take charge of Napoli, is to win the first Champions League in the club's history. Rivals Milan and Inter are both locked on 19 titles, so the goal at either club would be to edge ahead in that race. Whereas Lazio and Roma only have 5 Scudettos between them, so a save with either club could focus on creating an era of domination for a club from the capital. Speaking of dominance, the old lady Juventus have 36 league titles, more than any other club in Italy. But last season's 7th place finish indicates this could be an interesting rebuild. But if you fancy an Italian save that might prove a little more of a challenge, then you could take charge of top flight side Atalanta, a club that finished 5th last campaign and have been regular participants in European competition over the last few seasons. In more than a century of football, Atalanta have competed in the top flight for 62 of those years without ever going on to win it. In fact, the 3 third-place finishes they achieved between 2019 and 2021 are their highest to date. The club's only major honour is the 1963 Coppa Italia, but the side based in Bergamo to the north of Milan are a source of great local pride. In 2010, club president Antonio Percassi initiated Neonati Atalanti, a plan to instill a love of the club in the supporters from an early age by delivering an Atalanta shirt to the maternity ward of every newborn baby in the city. This passion for their club can create a raucous atmosphere at their stadium, and maybe these are the fans that you'd like to perform in front of in your next FM24 adventure. Or for an even tougher FM24 challenge, you could head south to a club trying to break a long-standing record. In the 94 season since Serie A adopted a league format, on only 4 occasions has a club from the south of Rome been victorious. Napoli hold 3 titles, whilst Cagliari have just 1. Alongside these clubs, 3 others from the south of the country currently compete in Serie A: Frosinone, Salernitana and Lecce. Lecce were founded in 1927, have a 31,000 capacity stadium and contest the fierce Derby de Puglia with local rivals Bari. They've completed 17 seasons of Serie A football, although have completed most of their history in the lower reaches of the game. But 2 seasons ago they won Serie B and last season finished a credible 16th, making this the perfect opportunity to take charge of a club from the Mezzogiorno region, establish them as a top-flight side before trying to win Lecce their first ever Scudetto. Serie B also contains a host of exciting clubs to manage. Parma and Sampdoria offer the opportunity to rebuild a club that have won a European trophy, and Venezia are former Coppa Italia winners. Italy is one of the nations that offers players of FM24 the chance to take charge of clubs based on an island, and Palermo are one of the biggest. The Sicilians are famed for their iconic pink shirts, and such greats as Dybala, Pastore and Cavani have graced their 36,000 capacity stadium. For such a well-known side, their accomplishments on the pitch have been relatively modest. They spent just 29 seasons in Serie A in their 122-year history, never going on to finish higher than 5th, and as recently as 2020 they were a Serie D side following demotion from Serie B during the prior campaign for financial regularities. But a decade earlier, the club looked like it might become one of Italy's top sides. They narrowly missed out on qualification to the Champions League and were defeated by Inter in a Coppa Italia final. The 9 seasons they spent in Serie A between 2004 and 2013 is their longest stint in the top flight, but could you take charge, guide them back to Serie A and win a first league title for a club from Sicily, something they would dearly love to do, to equal their rivals from Sardinia, Cagliari? But from the most southerly Serie B club to the most northerly, and another great challenge in FM24. Football club Sudtirol are one quite unique in Calcio. Tyrol are based in Bolzano in the Alps and is closer to Munich than it is to Rome. As their Germanic name indicates, German is spoken as widely as Italian in the local area, and the town is regularly ranked as having the best quality of life in the country. Last season was their first competing in Italy's second tier, and they finished a credible 6th, qualifying for the playoffs. A remarkable feat for a club that was competing in the 6th tier as recently as the 1990s. The club serve as a figurehead for German-speaking Italy, and there is a strong emphasis on developing local youth players at a training ground that has been used by the German national team. The dream of the owners is to create a club that could represent the area in Serie A. Is this a dream that you could help fulfill? Or perhaps you prefer to take the helm at a club with a notable alumni but as yet no major honours. Brescia's most notable achievement to date is a 1994 Anglo-Italian Cup victory over Notts County. Whilst Gary McSwegan started up front for Notts County that day, Giorgi Hagi led the attack for Brescia, just one of the greats to have played for the side alongside Guardiola, Baggio and Pirlo, and more recently Newcastle midfielder Sandro Tonali. The club holds the record for the most number of seasons in total spent in Serie B, as well as the most consecutive seasons spent in the second tier. But with you at the helm, could this be a new era? Brescia maintain a fierce rivalry with the aforementioned Bergamo-based Atalanta. Their best ever finish is 8th place in Serie A, and it's not so long since they were facing Paris Saint-Germain in Europe. If you're searching for a club eager to join the nation's elite, then Brescia may be the perfect FM24 save for you. In Serie C, 7-time national champions Pro Vercelli are a popular choice for those looking for a rebuild that starts in the bottom playable division, and Vicenza are one of just 16 clubs to win the Coppa Italia in a tournament that for many years has been dominated by Italy's Seven Sisters. But the Sports Club Society of Art and Work, or SPAL to give them their Latin abbreviation, are a club that have come close to winning major silverware but were denied. Founded by priests in 1907, the club are based in Ferrara in northern Italy. The club's heyday was in the late 50s and early 60s, and they achieved their highest ever finish in Serie A, as well as making the final of the Coppa Italia, a huge accomplishment for a modest club. Spal defeated a Juventus side featuring John Charles in the semi-final, setting up that Coppa Italia final against Napoli. The tie was poised at 1-1 until late in the game, when Napoli scored a winning goal, becoming the first club in Coppa Italia history from the second tier to win the National Cup competition, and leave Spal still searching for their first major honour. You'd require 2 promotions to take them to Serie A, but maybe that's the kind of challenge that you're looking for. Further south, Foggia are a club looking to rekindle their glory days in Serie A, when the side were coached by Zdeněk Zeman and riding high in the top flight. And Sicilians Catania are back at this level following promotion last season after a brush with insolvency. But for our final save suggestion, what about the prospect of reversing the decline of a club that have been in freefall? Founded in 1929, Benevento are known as the Sorcerers, and the club didn't appear in Serie A for the first time until 2017. But it was a season to forget, as they lost their opening 14 fixtures and were immediately relegated back to Serie B. But in 2020, Filippo Inzaghi's side were promoted to Serie A with 7 games of the season remaining, giving the club a second shot at the big time, but once more they lasted just 1 season, and they suffered a further relegation last campaign and find themselves back in the 3rd tier. This was a bitter pill to swallow for a club that just a year previously were in the Serie B playoffs. This is a club in dire need of some stability, as well as a coach that can build a squad capable of returning to Serie A, but this time lasting longer than just 1 campaign. Maybe you're just such the coach in your next FM24 adventure.